On July 14th, the largest power grid operator in the United States held an auction that most of the 67 million people it serves have never heard of. When it ended, the price of electricity capacity had hit the maximum the rules allow. Third year in a row. The total bill came to $16.4 billion. Here's what that means for you. If you live in one of 13 states, from Illinois to New Jersey to Virginia, a slice of your monthly electric bill was just set in a room you'll never see, in an auction you didn't vote in. And the single biggest reason that slice keeps growing isn't your air conditioner, it's data centers. Let me explain how this works, because once you see it, your bill stops being a mystery. The operator is called PJM. It runs the grid across the Mid-Atlantic and part of the Midwest, coordinating power for about 67 million people. Once a year, PJM runs what's called a capacity auction. Think of it as paying generators a retainer. Power plants promise to be available 3 years down the road, and in exchange they get paid a fixed rate, whether the grid ends up needing them or not. That retainer is measured in dollars per megawatt day, and it lands on your bill as a capacity charge. For years, this was a boring line item. In the 2024 delivery year, capacity cleared at $28.92 per megawatt day. Cheap. Forgettable. Then it broke. The next auction cleared at $269. The one after that, $329. Then $333. And the auction PJM just announced for the 2028 delivery year cleared at $325 per megawatt day. That's not a small number that got a little bigger. In 2 years, the price of capacity went up more than tenfold. And here's the part that should bother you. This latest auction didn't clear at $325 because that's what the market wanted to pay. It cleared at $325 because that's the ceiling. PJM caps the price. Without that cap, analysts say it would have cleared around $555 per megawatt day across the region. In northern Illinois, in the ComEd zone, it would have hit $777. The total cost wouldn't have been $16.4 billion. It would have been $29.7 billion. So the price you're paying isn't the real price. It's the maximum the rules will let them charge you. And the market wanted to go higher. Now, why? Why did a sleepy line item suddenly triple and slam into its own ceiling 3 times running? PJM's own independent market monitor gave a blunt answer. Data center demand is, quote, the primary reason for the spike in capacity prices. That's not an advocacy group talking. That's the market's official watchdog. The logic is simple. A capacity auction is a contest between how much electricity the grid will need and how much generation is available to promise it. When demand climbs faster than new power plants come online, the price shoots up. And demand is climbing fast. In this cycle alone, PJM's forecast for peak demand rose by about 2 gigawatts, and that increase was driven mainly by data centers. The warehouse is full of servers training AI models and running the cloud. Meanwhile, supply isn't keeping up. This auction procured 138,318 megawatts of capacity, but it came up 6,131 megawatts short of PJM's reliability target. The reserve margin, the grid safety cushion, came in at 14.7% against a goal of 20%. And out of that whole auction, only 525 megawatts of genuinely new resources cleared. New power plants aren't showing up fast enough to matter, so you have a bidding war for a shrinking cushion, with AI data centers as the biggest new bidder at the table. And everyone in the room pays the winning price. Let's talk about what this actually costs a household, because the honest answer has 2 parts. Part 1 is what the utilities will tell you. ComEd, which serves 4.2 million customers in Illinois, estimated that the most recent auction would add about $2 to $3 a month to the average residential bill, starting June 1st. $2 or $3. That sounds almost trivial, and it's the number you'll usually hear quoted. Part 2 is the fuller picture. Capacity is only one ingredient in your power price, roughly a fifth of it. But it's the fastest rising ingredient, and it stacks year after year. ComEd customers are now paying around 50% more for electricity than they were just 2 years ago, and elevated capacity costs are a big part of why. The $2 to $3 figure is the change from one auction. The real story is every auction, piling on top of the last and none of them coming back down. For big industrial users, the math is starker. A large factory pulling 10 megawatts saw its monthly capacity charge go from around $6,000 in 2024 to a projected $70,000 by 2028. Same electricity, more than 10 times the retainer. And it isn't spread evenly. In the auction 2 years ago, the Baltimore Gas and Electric Zone in Maryland cleared at $466 per megawatt day. The Dominion Zone, covering Virginia and North Carolina, home to the densest cluster of data centers in the country, cleared at $4,444. If you live where the servers live, you pay the most. David Mills, PJM's president and CEO, framed it this way. Demand for electricity, he said, continues to grow faster than electricity supply, and the fix is bringing new generation online as fast as possible. Which is true, but new generation takes years, and the auctions come every 12 months. Consumer advocates are less patient. Clara Summers at the Citizens Utility Board said continued foot-dragging is failing 67 million customers who are now suffering a years-long electricity price spike. And Julia Hoos, an energy analyst at Aurora Energy Research, put her finger on the deeper problem. The current system, she said, doesn't work to bring online new capacity or stimulate demand response, the two things we need the most. In other words, the sky-high prices are supposed to summon new power plants and get big users to cut back. They aren't doing either, so what happens next? PJM is filing an emergency measure with federal regulators this month, a reliability backstop with a special auction planned for September to try to shore up that supply shortfall, and the fight is moving to legislatures. In Illinois, a proposal called the Power Act would force data centers to pay their own interconnection costs, bring new capacity with them, or fund clean energy instead of leaning on everyone else's grid. In Congress, a bill called the Power for the People Act would make data centers pay for the transmission upgrades they trigger. PJM's own board is weighing rules to keep data centers that don't bring their own power out of the capacity market entirely, and to make them switch off when the grid is strained. The common thread in every one of these proposals is the same question. When a data center plugs into the grid and drives up the price for everyone, who should pay for the strain it causes? Right now, the answer is you. That's the mechanism behind the number on your bill. Not weather, not your usage. An annual auction, a hard price cap it keeps slamming into, and a wave of AI demand that the grid can't build fast enough to meet. The next test comes in September, when PJM runs that backstop auction. If it clears high too, the pattern isn't a spike anymore. It's the new normal. We'll be watching it.